For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to watch One Piece, but due to the sheer volume of the series, it always fell into the I'll get around to it someday laundry list of anime that I knew I'd probably never actually get around to. But due to a combination of last year's quarantine, a enthusiastic One Piece loving friend of mine, and my dad passing away, I suddenly found a lot of time on my hands and wanting something to take my mind off a lot of the stuff going on. So I ended up immersing myself into the world of One Piece, and before I knew it, I found a character who I resonated with, unlike many of my other favorite characters in anime. So today, I would like to talk about the character who is a brave warrior of the sea, Usopp. When I was first introduced to Usopp, I wasn't actually that big of a fan of his character. When I thought about what he brought to the Straw Hats, I felt like he was kind of one of the weakest links. And over the next few arcs, I wondered how he would really continue to fit in with such monstrous crewmates. It's in Syrup Village where we first get to meet Usopp, and he's a cowardly young man who lacks self confidence and has a proclivity for telling lies, like constantly boasting about this huge army he leads, or crying wolf very often about pirates coming to the town. However, we come to learn that he started doing this because his father was a pirate who left a long time ago, and he wanted to give his sick mom a sense of hope that his father was returning. So every day he would spread these lies until his mother would finally pass away and beyond. Despite all these negative traits, when the battle with the Black Cap pirates finally comes to a head, Usopp displays bravery and selflessness, trying to defend the town against overwhelming odds. Usopp is still scared, but he fights against all of those fears and insecurities to protect what's important to him. This lays the groundwork for the beginning of Usopp's character arc, which would span the next 700 episodes or so. And after being gifted the Going Merry and saying goodbye to Kaya, Usopp sets out to pursue his dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea with Luffy and the other Straw Hats. After leaving Syrup Village, we continue to follow the Straw Hats as they gather more crew members. All the while, Usopp gets put into tougher situations that really test his own resolve. We begin to see this in Arlong Park with Usopp versus Chew, as well as in Alabasta with Usopp and Chopper versus Mr. Four and Ms. Merry Christmas. While Usopp steadily overcomes his own cowardice to progress towards his dream, we begin to see more and more of his insecurities fester, especially as we move into the Water 7 arc. And this is where I really start to resonate with Usopp. As we go into Water 7, the Going Merry has taken massive amounts of damage, and Luffy, Nami, and Usopp set off to sell some treasure in order to get money to repair their beloved ship. After they end up with a large sum of money thanks to Nami's negotiation skills, the crew goes down to the Galila Company in order to find a shipwright. However, Usopp ends up getting jumped by the Frankie gang and having all the money stolen from him. Disgusted with himself, Usopp decides to challenge the Frankie house to get the money back, which results in him getting beaten unconscious and thrown outside. Luffy and the gang come in to save the day, however, and after saving Usopp, Luffy delivers the news that the Merry is irreparable and he's decided to get a new ship. This is where we really see Usopp's insecurities that have been building come to light. Usopp challenges Luffy's authority as captain and exclaims, "You don't need weak friends or useless crewmates. I could never catch up to you monsters anyway." And he leaves the crew. He then challenges Luffy to a fight over the Merry in which he puts up an admirable effort but ends up losing. This is where I really started to relate to Usopp's character. After so many episodes with the Straw Hats, we steadily see Usopp feel like he doesn't have a role within the crew, as well as he compares his crewmates to monsters, and in their own right, they are. As someone who felt like they never had anything they were particularly good at, but I saw people around me seem to excel, I really felt for Usopp. Just like him, I would embellish stories as a child in an effort to fit in better, and I got overtaken by the feeling that I could never catch up to those around me. How does one find what they're really good at? How do we find where we belong? And how could I continue to face my own anxieties or insecurities when it feels like nothing really changes? Usopp has battled this creeping fear for over 300 episodes at this point, and much like in real life, the longer these insecurities remain unresolved, the worse they become, and the more you begin to feel like it's impossible to catch up. However, I believe we have a little Soga King inside us that can help us along, just like our friend Usopp.
私の名はソゲキング
From here on out, we see Usopp's persona, Soga King, the king of snipers, join the fray. As Usopp wants to still save his friends, despite leaving the crew. Too ashamed to face the Straw Hats, we enter the Enies Lobby arc with Soga King, who, at the behest of Luffy, shoots down the world government flag to declare war on the government, effectively making an enemy out of the entire Marine Force. It's through this Soga King that he starts to find out what it is that only he can do, and with the help of Sanji telling Usopp, everyone has things they can and cannot do. I'll do what you can't do, and you do what I can do, that we get to see Usopp save the day on top of the Tower of Justice, just as he figures out what it is that he can do. Once they save Robin and bid farewell to the Mary, Usopp accepts the ship's fate, and we go back to Water 7. It's at this point that Usopp ends up coming back to join the crew and tries to make up excuses and tell some stories like he always does, but this time he is ignored. This leads to Usopp finally accepting responsibility in one of the most tear-jerking moments of the arc. Usopp cries out that he wishes he could have changed what he did and what he said, but he can't. He begs for one more chance to be a part of the crew and to move forward with his friends, and then Luffy extends an arm to him, bringing Usopp back on board, and from this point, Usopp begins to change. We head to Thriller Bark next, and it's here we get to see Usopp's next big character moment. Hot off finally getting a bounty, Usopp ends up being the only person who can fight Perona with her hollow fruit. Due to the fact that Usopp is essentially so negative towards himself, her negative mood altering powers have no effect, and Usopp ends up proclaiming, this is the first time Usopp is really put in a situation that only he can handle. And the most important part of this arc to me is that even coming off such incredible feats from the last arc, he still gets scared and almost gives up. But he looks to Soga King for guidance once again and ends up coming out on top against Perona. With each arc, my respect for Usopp only continued to grow, and this is only the beginning of the shift we see for Usopp. After the events of Marineford take place, Usopp and the Straw Hats vow to become stronger for their captain so he never has to go through anything like losing Ace again. And after 2 years of training, we are reunited and go into the next major arc for Usopp, Dressrosa. Usopp starts off Dressrosa by telling some lies to the Tontada tribe, and he convinces them that he is a descendant of their legendary hero, so they dub him Usoland. The Tontadas reveal the dark history of Dressrosa to the crew and place their hopes on their newfound hero Usoland to save the kingdom. Armed with a plan to take out Sugar in order to turn the toys back into humans, we begin Operation SOP. However, in the heat of the battle against Treble and Sugar during Operation SOP, Robin gets turned into a toy. Now, with the stress of the lies and the overall hopelessness of the situation closing in, Usopp runs away, believing he is incapable of saving anyone. Once again, Usopp is surrounded by monsters he believes are just too much for him, and just as all seems lost, Usopp returns. Usopp now realizes that he does not want to be a coward and admits he has been deceiving the Tontada all along. He announces he is Usopp, the sniper of the Straw Hats, not Usaland, and today is the day he will become the Tontada's new hero. In this moment, Usopp no longer needs to hide behind Soka King. He no longer needs to hide behind any lies or personas. He finally finds his courage, saves the Tontadas, and earns the title of God Usopp. We finish out the arc with Usopp awakening his observation haki in one of the most deserved moments of the series, all while saving Luffy, Law, and knocking out Sugar a second time. At the end of Dressrosa, Usopp finally cements his role in the Straw Hats, not only to us as viewers, but to himself as well as the Straw Hats sniper. Thriller Bark and Dressrosa are such inspiring arcs to me. We see Usopp admit that he is constantly down on himself and that he's still cowardly, but he wants to keep moving forward to obtain his dream and protect what's important to him. Usopp is so much stronger than most average people in the series, but because we constantly see these monstrous characters, we almost don't realize it. And as I began to see the themes associated with Usopp, I started to understand that while depression, anxiety, or insecurities may be incredibly heavy and hard to deal with at times, they aren't insurmountable. You have to recognize progress no matter how small or incremental it may be. Trying to become the person we want to be is hard, and sometimes we may even lapse back into some of those negative places we've been before, but that's okay. What's really important is choosing to move forward as best we can so we can inch closer to being our own version of a brave warrior of the sea. We should strive to surround ourselves with people who care, but who will still hold us accountable, just like Usopp when he left the crew. Usopp's journey has spanned across almost 1,000 episodes now, and he means so much to me as a character. He represents the ability to be brave and face the things we fear the most, to move towards a dream and figure out where we belong, even when we feel like we're being overshadowed by those around us. He is kind and compassionate, showing an unwavering loyalty towards his friends, and he has the perseverance to keep moving forward even in the worst of times in order to change. He is truly a brave warrior of the sea, deserving of the title God Usopp.